Dragi pratitelji podcasta Tau televizije, srdačan i lijep pozdrav iz našega studija. Naš današnji gost uistinu je poseban i drugačiji pomalo od gostiju koji smo imali ovdje priliku vidjeti i čuti. Naime, on je gospodin Richard Montez, on dolazi iz Sjedinjenih Američkih Država i mnogima od vas zasigurno je poznat kao osoba koja je po prvi put donijela jedan muzikal u Čapljinu i to davne 2013. godine. Ujedno, on je osnivač i direktor međunarodnog kazališta Cornerstone Arts, direktirao je i producirao u 67 svjetskih zemalja različite muzikle, a evo danas imamo priliku razgovarati s njima i predstaviti njegovu knjigu koju je napisao o svom bogatom radu, Čovjek iza zavjese. So, Mr. Montez, welcome to Čapljina and thank you for being our guest.
Hi, Anna. It's wonderful to be here in Čapljina. I love Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Okay, so you are here like home, we may say.
Oh, I feel like I'm with my family when
With
I'm
your
here.
family.
Yeah.
That's so nice to hear. So, for those who don't know more about you, who is Richard Montez?
Okay. Well, Richard Montez is from Dallas, Texas. What I do is when I was younger, I was a singer, dancer, but then I really felt God calling me to do more for the church, more for Christians, because, you know, in the secular world, entertainment is very high level, high professional, but in the church it's very low, and there was very little. So it's almost like the Lord was telling me, bring the level and quality of Christian shows higher. And so that's what I'm doing. But I said to the Lord, Lord, but who wants this? Who's going to invite me? Now I've been invited to over 100 countries and in 35 years and to churches all over the world. And I have many invitations over and over and over. So I think the whole world wants shows like this.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. I tell stories about Jesus Christ, but through a musical and through drama.
Okay, so in some kind you are a messenger of God's,
Yes,
of
right.
God's deeds through
Sure.
all the world. So how did you decide to produce musicals that are based on biblical and religious motives? How
Well,
did you decide that?
I think ever since I was little, I've always had a heart for God, and I want everybody to have that same heart, but not everybody does. And you know, you can invite people to come to church every day, and they won't come. Many people say, no, I'm not interested in that. But if you do a musical, you do a drama, you do a show, oh, everybody packs the place. And even here, we would fill the sports arena. It'd just be packed with people, just so many people. But if you invite them to come to church, they won't come. So this is a great way of reaching people to teach things about God, but through a musical or through drama, because this is what people love.
Okay, so as I mentioned, 2013, you were here in Čapljina, such a
Yes.
small town,
Yeah.
with such a big story that stayed in history of this city. How do you decide, or how do you choose which musical you will work in a specific town or with a specific people? Okay?
Right. Well, you know, in 2013, when I first, I was actually doing a show in 2012 in Osijek, in Croatia, and one of the actors was from Čapljina, Mufid Besic, and he's the one who said, please, you need to bring something to Herzegovina, we need a show. So I came in 2013, and I said, but who will help us? Well, then this amazing man named Fra Mile, he came and he said, I will help, please, I want to be a part of this. So he was wonderful in helping us create a show. And so I worked with him, because I have many different shows. We also did another show called Two from Galilee. It's a Christmas show.
Yes.
It's a beautiful show. But then we also did one called Joseph. So at that time, I think we did Joseph. I don't remember now. But we did that show, and we just invited all the young people to come and participate. And we had a lot of people come, and people loved the show. They had a great time.
Were you surprised with this group of
Yeah.
young people who wanted to sing and be a part of
You
the
know,
musical?
there's a lot of talent here in Herzegovina. A lot of people, they want to sing, they dance. The thing is, they don't have opportunity. They don't have a place where they can go and do this. So I think everybody was surprised. They said, whoa, where did all this talent come from? In fact, after that, Pramile began something called Čapljina's Got Talent, because I think he was surprised. So many singers, so many dancers, so much talent. So he wanted to see who can sing, who can dance, and they were surprised. They had a lot of people who could do that.
Do that, yeah. I suppose that you have a lot of nice memories from being here at Čapljina 2013 and also later after that. Is there a difference, because you work with the big stars, with the professional singers and dancers, is there a difference, and what is a difference between working or doing musicals in big cities and in small cities like Čapljina, small towns like Čapljina?
Well,
what motivates you?
Well, I think that for me, both are the same, whether they're professionals or whether they're beginners. To be honest, I'd rather work with the beginners than with the professionals, because the professionals, they want to do it their way. The beginners, they want to do it they'll do whatever I tell them to do. So what's my motivation for doing these shows? To tell people about the Lord. But lots of times like professionals, they're going, I want my voice to be perfect. I want it to be about me. And I say, no, it's not about you. It's about Jesus Christ. Okay. And sometimes they don't like that, you know.
Okay, so maybe they are more professionals, not so in
emotion. Not in a good way.
But not
more about them.
Okay, so hearing you and listening you speaking here, God means a lot to you.
Yes,
so
of course.
It is the main point of your musical. How people maybe react in some cities or towns or countries where religion is not so present, let's say, where people do not believe as we, let's say, believe.
Well, that could be a problem, you know, because in some countries, for example, I was in Moldova, and in 1995, they were still an atheist government. And the official religion was atheism, not Christianity. There were Christians there. And so I had one young man who I had helped go to Bible school in America, and now he was in this city in Nisporen, Moldova, and in Chisinau, Moldova. And we did a show about Jesus Christ. And now there they oppress Christianity. So they said, Christians cannot meet in public halls. You cannot meet in a theater or even outside or in a stadium or in a sports hall, nothing. So he said, there's no way. And I said, well, I'm registered as a theater. So I went to them and I said, I'm registered as a theater and I want to do a show here. They said, why? I said, why not? So they said, okay. So they let me do the show. But we did the show, and it's a big Christian show. And we did 3 nights, and afterwards, they arrested me.
Really?
Yeah, and I went to prison for 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yes, and so that's in my book, and it just explains how not every country is for this. But at the same time, I was able to tell people about the Lord, even in prison, and even to the judge afterward. And then after they released me, they let me go.
Okay, so you really served to God, and God for sure helps you to go out of the prison. But really, story that seems something that is imaginative in this modern world.
That this would happen. Yeah, you could never imagine this could happen.
Yeah, that someone will put you in prison because of doing musicals.
Sure, absolutely,
okay.
sure.
That is something that seems to be
sure. And there's lots of stories. You know, it's funny, the more you go around the world, the more you see lots of different things that happen. For example, I was in Panama, and they left me in Panama with the monkeys. I was in the jungle with some monkeys because they didn't want to do the show. So they left me in the jungle.
Really?
Yeah. And so just with the monkeys. It's a crazy story that's also in the book. And just a lot of things. I was in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan's very Muslim. And so they wanted to arrest me because I was bringing stories about Jesus Christ. And the Muslims were not happy about that. They were saying, no, if you say anything against Muhammad, against Islam, or against Kazakhstan, we will send you to jail. But luckily, the show was very nice and happy and beautiful, and so they were not. But they brought the police. There were 16 police sitting in the front row, ready. If I did anything, they were going to stop the show and arrest me. But praise the Lord, they didn't stop the show.
Okay, so
there's
again,
a lot
God
of stories.
saved you.
Yeah,
okay,
lots of stories.
So your musicals are not only for those who believe in God, but for those who are yet to
they're on their way.
on their way to believe and to
Yes,
meet
exactly.
the
Well,
beauty of God.
you know, because all of us, it's like a puzzle piece. Every one of us has a piece in our heart that is the size of Jesus. And people try to fill it with drugs, with alcohol, with money, with fame, with something, and nothing will fill that. Only Jesus Christ can fill that part that makes us complete, that makes us whole. And these shows that I do show people how they can have a better relationship, how they can know who God is, and they can find who God is, and then they find themselves happier and they have joy. Today, people need hope. And where's the best place to find hope? Is in Jesus Christ.
Yes.
So that's
Only
why
God can give hope. So.
absolutely. So that's why we show them this, and through the shows are beautiful, and so people afterwards are so inspired. They're crying when they see the show. They're going, "It was so beautiful. We just loved it." And how can we know more about God? I go, speak to Pramila. He can help you.
Okay, so I suppose that this religious background and your belief in God gives you strength, and in that way you manage to do musicals even in these countries when it seems to be impossible to do musicals. So that's so nice to hear. You travel a lot.
Yes.
Even today you travel from Croatia. You also done musicals in Zagreb, in Osijek, in Varaždin, Mostar,
Yes.
Sarajevo, so many countries, so
Sure,
many
absolutely,
cities.
sure.
Do you have maybe some favorite musical or play, some memory that stayed in you when you were, for example, in Herzegovina or in Croatia or in some other country?
Sure. Well, of course.
Something that touched you really.
Yeah, sure. There's, I've been doing shows for a long time, but right when the Soviet Union fell apart, okay, remember, Lenin was saying there was no God, and that was the official state of the Soviet Union. But when the Soviet Union broke, they had invited a theater from the United States to come and do a show. You know who they invited? They invited me. But they didn't know I was a Christian theater. They thought, oh, it's just some theater that's going to come and do some show. So I came, and we did the story of the life of Christ in the Kremlin Theater. It seats 6,600 people, and it was a big, beautiful show. And imagine the very place where Lenin said, there is no God. The very first show after the Soviet Union fell apart was a story about God, about Jesus Christ, about the birth of Jesus, about the life of Jesus, about Jesus being crucified, and he resurrected and he ascended into heaven. The people were crying and crying. They said, we heard stories about this. We didn't know. And they didn't know who God was. Many of them were saying, so who's Jesus again? I go, he's the Son of God. Who's his mother? I go, well, he doesn't have a mother. I say, oh, so God is a single father? And I was going, yes. And they go, how many brothers? He has no brothers. Oh, so Jesus is just one. I was going, this is crazy. Or then they said, is that Jesus' father? I was going, no. Because they didn't know. Because they were so removed from Christianity, they knew nothing.
They didn't have opportunity to meet the God.
Right. So
until you came.
Now they had. So it was beautiful. So every night, for 30 nights, we did the show. And we had about 6,000 to 7,000 people every night come for 30 nights. And so people were finding out about Jesus. And people were so excited. They wanted to go, how can we learn more about Jesus? It was beautiful. What a beautiful opportunity to reintroduce, because Russia at one time was Christian, but now they were going to come back to their Christianity. And now Christianity is coming up little by little in Russia, in Ukraine, in Bulgaria, and all the former Soviet countries. So that's just one story. I have many, many stories.
I believe. But thanks to people like you are and your musicals, people can get more closer to God and meet God.
Sure, absolutely.
So
there's many ways of bringing people to God.
This is one way
Yes.
how you can, let's say, for a bigger audience, how
Yes,
you can
right.
say, okay, this is God, or this is story about God,
Yeah,
and,
sure,
and His love
absolutely.
and hope that He brings. So
Absolutely. And it's a good way. It's a happy way. It's a because people can use their talents. So we get to see people inside the church get active, get busy. We can use the young people to do shows, to paint, to sew, to make costumes, to do makeup, to make the decorations, to do construction. And then we do it for the people. And the people in the city, they come and see the show and they love it. So you involve everybody. Everybody's involved in the show.
And you also were, as I remember, and as I remember what Framila said, you were also in Ukraine during this period. So how was it to be there? And
Oh, are you talking about the bombing this year?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Well, we were doing a show in there in Ukraine, and suddenly on February the 24th, I will never forget. It was like 6 in the morning, and suddenly you hear, pow, boom, and there's all these explosions, and I was just like, oh God, what's happening? And I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna die, because the bombs were falling outside, and it was so strong, it was just hitting you like somebody hit you in the chest. Boom! The bombs were so loud and so scary, and so I thought, well, they're going to bomb my building, and so I didn't know, do I go outside? But what if they bomb me there?
yes.
But if I stay here, what if they bomb the building? And so I didn't know what to do. So I was running, and many people were like running around outside. Everybody was so afraid, and it was very scary for everybody. And people went to the bank, and the banks were closed. So people went to the store, and everybody was just hoarding food. So I was going, there won't be any food left for me if I wait in the line. So I was just trying to get out of Ukraine, but I was able to get out of Ukraine, and I went first to Poland. But then I said, I've worked with churches in Poland, so I got the churches busy. And I said, okay, you churches, go to the bus station, because all the refugees were coming out, but they had nowhere to go. So they were just outside, and it was winter. So they were just mothers and children were outside. So I'd say to one church, get coffee, tea, and hot chocolate, and water, and go to the bus station. And then this church, go to the train station. And then to this church, make hundreds of sandwiches. Get all the women to start making sandwiches, and just start taking them to the bus station, to the train station. And so we were able to start getting people moving. And then we talked to the schools and tell them to let us open the schools for the people to at least go inside. At this time, we had no beds, we had nothing, but at least they had a warm place to go. Because right now there was nowhere to go, just on the street. And so we helped them do that. And then I remembered there were some camps. So then we spoke to the camps, and they said, well, we're only open in the summer. I go, not right now. You need to open now. And so we talked to the churches talked to them, and then we were able to get the refugees to go to those camps. Now they had beds. Now they had places to live, to sleep, to take a shower. And then we started talking about they have like a place to cook at every camp. So then we got volunteers to come in and prepare the food for the refugees. And so we started doing that for about a month, about 2 or 3 months after that. Now remember, that's not my work, so I couldn't continue to do it. Yeah. But for the first 3 months I did. And
you participate, let's say,
sure.
In a way you could do
yes.
It. And we hope that you will still do this musical in Ukraine after all this
all
is done. And I think that God will do his work there.
Right.
Okay,
and what's so interesting? The name of the show is called, let me see, in Croatian it's called Skrovište, but in Russian it's called Ubješiće, and it's the hiding place. It's a story about a war, about Hitler attacking a country and destroying the people, and the people were afraid, and the people were running away from him. That's the story that we were doing when the war hit. So it was like crazy.
So after all this, I think they will be even more connected with this story that you are going to produce.
They will understand it.
Okay, so during all these 35 years of your work, your profession, doing as a director, producer, dancer, singer, and all that, you have experienced so many beautiful things, but also some things that were bad, even like this one in Ukraine. And all this is written in your book.
In my book, right.
Yes, so please tell us something more about
Okay,
your
sure.
book.
Well, let me see it here.
Okay.
The name of the book is called The Man Behind the Curtain. And I'm the man behind the curtain. Okay. And if you notice, everything I like is blue. Everything I have is blue. This is why I love your set.
Okay.
It's a beautiful set. Everything is
because
blue.
it has blue
great.
color.
Exactly.
Okay, good
sure.
one.
But I've had many friends tell me, Richard, you need to write a book. And so I said, well, let me think about it. And I said, okay, Lord, if you want me to write a book, let 20 people tell me that I should write a book. I had 200 people tell me I should write a book. So I went, oh my God. But Lord, when will I write it? Then something came called the pandemic. And then I said, God, when am I going to find the time? Then we were all in lockdown. So I go, okay. So I wrote the book. And now it just came out about 1 month ago. But it's got all the stories that I'm telling you about. It's got many, many stories of things that happened in Nigeria, in Kenya, with some cannibals in Philippines.
Cannibals. Okay.
Cannibals, yes, that eat people. Yes, it's true. I mean, just so many stories. It's just amazing what God has let me see. But it's a great book for anybody. And right now, it's just come out in English. But we hope maybe in the next few months we will produce it in Croatian, because there's many places in Croatia that are very interested, and of course here in Herzegovina.
For sure. And I think that we will all have something good to read in this book.
Sure. So hopefully they will.
So you can put it there.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah.
Good one. So was it easy to write a book? Because you have so many things that maybe you wanted to write about, but I don't know how many pages this book has. But in general, was it easy to write a book?
It was, because you see, one thing that I do, I journal every day, you know. Even when I was 5 years old, I would write down. I could not even write. My mother would take my hand and write. You know, his name is Richard, he likes to play, he likes the color blue, and so this is all. But then it was just once a year. But then when I got into high school, I started doing it like once a month. And then in college, I was like once a week. And then now I write every day. So even tonight, I will write about this lovely interview, right? One. And so I have everything written down. So what I did is during the pandemic, I went through and I wrote everything. I got everything together and I put it all together, just the stories. I had 900 pages.
900 pages.
It was like, this was too many. So I had to go back through and say, okay, that story goes, and that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. And so now it's only 250. So
selection of the best stories of Richard Montez.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I have a lot of stories, but just some of them made it to the book.
Okay.
Maybe there'll be another book. Who knows?
Who knows? Well, you have enough material to write several books, not only one or two. So at the end, if we ask you this question, who is the man behind the curtain?
Well, that would be, okay, actually, the story is about me and things that happened. But ultimately, the man behind the curtain is the Lord. It's the Lord who is in the back, but he makes everything happen. He's the one who tells this man what to do. And so ultimately, it's about the Lord. So in the book, we talk about all the things that the Lord did, not what I did, but what the Lord did, because actually the Lord's the ultimate man behind the curtain. So
he's the main producer of your life, but also the main producer of our lives.
Of our lives, of all of us. I think we all have stories. We all have many, many stories, and God's the producer and director of them all.
Okay, so that's a good thing. What are maybe your goals for future? Something that you haven't done for now, but something that you wanted
that I want to
do in the future.
I've been able to direct a couple of movies, but that's not really my heart. My heart is to continue doing what I'm doing now, but to keep going to new countries. So I've been to almost every country that I want to go to. I've been to all of Europe. I've been to all of the United States. I've been to all of North America, Central America, and South America. And the only places I still need to visit, I still have not been to Vietnam, Venezuela, Nepal, and I think that's it. And Lebanon.
So 5 countries.
About 5 countries. Those are the ones I want to go to.
Only 5, okay.
5, yeah, because I've been to 100 and over 100, and so those are the ones I want to go to. So that's my goal. My goal is to go there and bring the gospel of Jesus Christ through a musical or through a drama.
Okay. Doing your work with young people here in Čapljina and Croatia, is there a difference between mentality of the people, let's say here in Europe, in USA, maybe in Latin America? What is the difference, let's say, when you produce some musical? And in general, what do you see maybe the main difference?
I think that I think young people are the same around the world. All of them want an opportunity to learn their skill, to learn something new, to be able to grow in creativity. All of us are creative, whether you're working with flowers or designing something like this or designing clothes, writing a book or music or cooking or whatever. Everybody's creative in one way or another. And so the beautiful thing about what I do is I give people that opportunity to be creative in that area. Around the world, people are the same. People are people, and people all want the same thing. They all want to grow and be happy and to eventually get married and have a family and just to have a good life, you know. And
to love and be loved. Yeah.
Right, and to use the gifts that God gave them to do something great with their life. And so, so this is something that's the same around the world, whether you have money or not. It's the same. Yeah.
So it's great that you have this talent that God gave you, that you can give this opportunity to young people worldwide. Sure. Yeah. Can we expect some new project or musical here in Čapljina or near Čapljina?
Well, of course. Right after this interview, I have a little meeting with our dear friend Pramila, and we're going to talk about something for the future. So maybe we will be talking about
something that could be also here in Čapljina again.
And then we can tour with it to Čitluk, Libuški, Široki Brijeg, Mostar, Međugorje. Sure.
Yeah, for sure you will have the audience who will come and listen and watch with the joy and hope and the love, and for sure you will have actors and dancers and singers.
Yes.
I don't doubt that you will have enough material.
The talent is here. There's a lot of talent.
Okay, just give talent opportunity to go out.
Right, absolutely.
For the end of this podcast, I would like to thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Anna.
For having time to speak with us, to tell some of your stories, and I hope that we will also have opportunity to read your book.
Yes, I hope so.
As soon as possible. And at the end, maybe some message for our followers, why is important to believe in God, why God is important, and why He should be the main part of our life.
Sure, absolutely.
The main producer.
Absolutely. So which camera can I look into? This one?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, first of all, it's a great blessing for me to be here in Herzegovina and to speak to all my friends here. And, you know, it's important to have a relationship with Jesus Christ and to follow Him. You know, people try to look for everything, for alcohol and drugs and all kinds of crazy things. But the ultimate joy is in Jesus Christ. And so many of you have a dream and you feel like, well, my dream has gone away or I have no dream. But the truth is, God has given you that dream. And so I want to encourage you, don't give up on your dream because God gave it to you. And don't give up on God because God will make it come to pass. It might not be in the same way that you think it's going to happen, but I want to encourage you. Keep trusting in God, and God's going to do miracles that's going to take you around the world. It's going to let you make a difference around the world in many, many people's lives.
Okay, so what better you can say to all these young people who watched us? Na kraju, poštovani gledatelji, ja vam evo zahvaljujem što ste i pratili ovaj naš podcast sa gospodinom Richardom Montezom. Kao što sam rekla, producent i direktor Međunarodnog kazališta, osoba koja je uistinu puno toga lijepog donijela ovdje u Čapljinu i po cijelom svijetu, a nadamo se da ćemo imati prilike ponovo sudjelovati i gledati i slušati njegove projekte, njegove mjuzikle. Ja vjerujem da ste mnogo toga lijepog čuli, nešto možda što je izvučalo kao nevjerojatno, ali ipak to su nečije životne priče koje su itekako istinite. Njegovu knjigu Čovjek iza zavjese, za sada još nemamo na hrvatskom jeziku, ali kao što je Richard rekao, uskoro ćete imati priliku i pročitati i ja vjerujem da će mnogi od vas to i učiniti. Na kraju što reći, već dopustite da uistinu Bog bude glavni producent vašeg života i dopustite da on učini najljepši mjuzikl sa vama. Do sljedećeg susreta, srdačan pozdrav.